You've just taken recently a trip to Syria. Talk us through what you found there.
Well, if we look at the country as a whole, we see an accelerating crisis. We know we had for 10 years now the impact of war on the Syrian economy and society. We have neighboring Lebanon imploding. We have international sanctions in place, weakening the Syrian economy. We have a degradation of the Syrian pound, massive inflation, and we have an overall impact of COVID, which adds to the problem. So paradoxically, while the active front lines are more quiet today, the problems for Syrians are increasing. And I think this is a particularly difficult situation in which we find ourselves, because we do need, in terms of needs, to increase our response capacities in re-establishing some basic services to Syrians: water, sanitation services, electricity for hospitals, medical equipment, medicine. And this fails to be accessible for a lot of Syrians today. We also see that those displaced within Syria and those displaced outside of Syria do not easily return, don't have the conditions to return, which adds to the complexity. And of course, we have a political landscape in which the international community, as well as Syrians, are still deeply divided about the future of the country. So that's a little bit the overall situation of concern to us. And then we have specific areas of Syria where we see particular concern. We have a worry that we are still have limited access from the Syrian territory into crossline into Idlib province in the northwest. We have a decent way and a decent ability to operate with the consent of the Syrian government and local administration in the northeast. But we have tens of thousands of women and children stranded in the camps of northeastern Syria. We have too many kids as well in detention. So it's a specific complexity with which we deal in the northeast. And we have too many people in Syria still not having access to basic services throughout the country. So that's a bleak situation. And we, of course, hope that the upcoming Syria conference will hopefully facilitate our humanitarian work as we move forward, but also help us find the necessary resources to do so.
Obviously, you have many partners within that network. But when you think about the United States specifically, what are you hoping to see from the Biden administration?
Well, we certainly hope that in terms of humanitarian exemptions to sanctions, that we see a more fluid process, which allows us to have exemptions procedures for humanitarian goods and essential services. We hope that the Biden administration will join others in a political effort also to find an outside stabilization efforts. I think it is important to engage with Russia, with Iran, with the Syrians themselves, with Turkey. And of course, as a superpower, the US have a lot of avenues of influence to move positively the needle of finding consensus on the Syrian context.